In this immersive journey through the transformative realm of sound healing, our podcast, Harmony in Healing, explores profound role of auditory resonance in shaping the symphony of overall being, cancer healing, and tender moments at the end of life. From the cellular dance of sound waves impacting our physical and emotional states to the instruments weaving melodies of comfort for those navigating complexities of cancer and the gentle echoes, creating peaceful transitions in the end of life phase. Our conversations resonated with the transformative power of sound. Together, let's explore the harmonious cadence of healing, vibrations, and there lies a profound key to unlocking physical, emotional, spiritual well being. May the echoes linger, guiding us all on a journey of self discovery and healing. Welcome and thank you for tuning in to the Life Doula podcast. For today's episode, it's really a deep dive into the various modalities of holistic healing, one of which is sound healing. I'm your Life Doula, Charity Marahomsar, and I'd like to guide you into this auditory exploration. Today, we have a very special guest, a certified sound healing practitioner who brings a unique perspective to our conversation. Welcome, Attorney Rachel Hamiro. Hi, Rachel.
Thank you for having me, Charity. It's a pleasure to be here.
Rachel is many things. Today, she's wearing her hat as a sound healer, and you can check out her Instagram later, but she's doing so many things. To kick things off, let's dive into the heart of the matter. How does sound healing contribute to the holistic well-being of individuals living with cancer?
Well, cancer is such a big word, and just the word itself triggers. And a lot of people, we have to look at the journey itself, the disease, and even the after effects of treatment. So the, the feelings that it can bring up is all about, the emotional, the physical, the psychological. And what sound does, what it helps with, is really calming that nervous system down throughout the journey. It helps relieve mental health symptoms, improve sleep, cognitive functions. Even there have been studies also that it strengthens the immune system, which is what is needed, especially when dealing with cancer. So for my experiences, I've really seen it help with the emotional overwhelm with undergoing the journey, and it helps with the physical things as well, such as the blood pressure, pain, sleep, just the overall. If you think about warriors, what do warriors need? What kind of support they need? So sound healing comes in as a support for that.
There is a science behind sound healing, and a lot of you think that sound healing is new. It's not. So it's really quite fascinating. So Rachel will really journey with us and really break it down. Rachel, can you, in layman's term, explain how sound affects our physical and emotional state, as you said, especially in the context of healing? By the way, Rachel is into a lot of other healing modalities. So this beautiful blend of what she knows, aromatherapy, emotional release, and sound healing is such a great combination. So Rachel, in layman's term, how does sound healing really help our body?
Well, to think about it, we are beings who vibrate, and you can feel that. You can feel it with sound waves. You can feel it in the ocean. So we vibrate, and so sound waves can, in fact, impact our cells, and this also influences our nervous system, and it triggers the release of feel-good hormones and even inhibits some of the stress hormones. They're the same mechanisms, the hormones where you listen to music and you start feeling tingles.
Yeah.
Have you experienced
Yes,
that?
yes, yes.
Yeah, it's the same thing when it comes to also how we deal with pain.
Yeah.
And some hormones where you start to feel good. And that is needed in any cancer journey. There have also been studies where they, in surgical settings, they played music for one set of patients. They found that those with music had lower cortisol levels.
Wow.
And then there were also studies where the antibodies were higher when exposed to sound healing modalities. So really it supports the body in this whole journey. So those are the kinds of hormones that make us feel good. And when we feel good, there have been studies where it also reduces our perception of pain.
Yeah, that's true, because even again on a layman's term, if you're not feeling so well and you listen to music, you feel relieved, you feel calmer. And I think that's the same effect as a sound
Exactly.
healing, right?
So with sound healing, we're controlling the environment also where the patient is exposed to, and so that they can concentrate on what they need to concentrate, which is to heal.
Yeah. The effect of sound healing to me, especially when Rachel does it for me, is it really puts me to sleep. And that tells you how relaxing it is. And sound healing, when you hear about it, there is a huge list of instruments. And hint, hint, if you're able to go to Rachel's house, what you will see in this podcast is just probably a fraction of what she has. Rachel, tell us about the instruments and the role it plays and the different techniques used when we use sound healing, not just for cancer patients, but for people really who are sick. What different instruments do we talk about?
Well, there's so many. It's like a rabbit hole. But for the ones that you will commonly see, we have tuning forks that actually work on specific parts of the body because the frequency resonates with a specific organ, that kind of thing. And then we have crystal singing bowls and Tibetan Himalayan singing bowls. They help with the brain waves as well in inducing state of relaxation. So it works with the nervous system. Then we have the big gongs.
Yeah.
They really get you in deep relaxation state, which is also a healing state. I love those. Really, really powerful. Even drumming, you know how the rhythmic beats are also calming, and you think about your mother's heartbeat when you're
Yeah.
in the womb. There is a calming quality to rhythms, and that's why it's found in all of the world's music. The rhythm. There are, so all of I can go through all the percussion instruments, but we don't have time
And
for
she
that.
has most of them.
There's also the human voice. So they've been studying some monks who've been chanting
Yeah.
mantras. So and just singing. Like if you put yourself in a place to just listen to beautiful voices and singing, it's so therapeutic
Yeah,
and
relaxing.
relaxing. So
And I was able to experience that.
it's such a wide world.
Yeah, yeah. So there are a lot that we can talk about, and let's talk about melody at the end of life, right? As you know, I've witnessed this in Japan. There's just it's such a different space. This is quite a sensitive topic, and there could be a lot of stories out there. But in your case, have you known of case studies highlighting the impact of sound healing at the end of life phase for individuals who are sick, especially with cancer?
Of course, those types of experiences are very, very sensitive and nuanced. It involves a lot of factors because you're not only looking at what's going on internally, the emotional, the psychological, but there is also the the physical. So there's a lot of discomfort there, and you add to that some dissonant sounds. Let's say you put a patient in a clinical setting in the hospital where there's like beeps going on. There's just so much dissonance. There's like you hear the beeping of the machines, and then the nurses go in and out banging doors, and then outside there's somebody wailing. Just the harmonics of a situation like that can put someone who is undergoing such a tense moment into further stress.
Yeah.
And that is the last thing you want. You want to build an environment that is full of comfort, harmony, support, so that they can have the strength and the peace, inner peace. And this involves not just the patient itself, but the people surrounding.
Correct.
There's so much emotion happening in these end of life scenarios, and that's why all the studies and even the doctors who are doing these complementary, they're really into patient-centric approach. Like, what does the patient need at this time?
Yeah.
What kind of support, what kind of environment, and the acoustics plays a big part in that.
That's true. You know, the last sense to go is a sense of hearing, right? So on this note, sound healing thus make the environment of the patient more soothing, and as what Rachel said, even the love givers who are taking care of the patient can also benefit from this. Now let's talk about integration. How can sound healing be seamlessly integrated into the traditional medical treatments? And I've seen this more and more in other countries, really integrating it in traditional treatments for a more comprehensive approach to cancer care.
It's really about collaboration. I mean, when we talk about collaboration, it's a team. It means that the people in the team all have individual responsibilities or scope. So, of course, we have the doctor in charge because they're the ones who know everything there is to know about the disease itself and the treatment plan. But there are other skill sets that the doctor may not have. It could be the vocalization or the mental emotional support, the processing, the emotional journey the patient has to go through.
Absolutely.
When going through the whole journey, because it's not just the treatment itself. You go home and you're thinking about what's going to happen to me, what's going to happen in the body. And so we bring in team members. That's why even the spiritual community, we call for prayer communities to come. We get psychologists to help us process. We get a friend.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so sound healing comes in when you also need someone just to take care of the sound part and to help with the relaxation, because patients who are more relaxed are more receptive to the whole treatment plan. So it involves open communication with everybody involved.
You mentioned about the word collaboration. And I will add another C to that. A lot of collaboration and communication, I think, should really happen. Now, are there considerations or adaptations needed when applying sound healing to individuals with different types of stage cancers? Like you mentioned about tuning forks. When do you need to use that as opposed to the other instruments?
Of course, it depends on the patient. Some patients, we're all different. Some patients who have low energy and cannot even get out of bed, or they're lethargic or maybe even depressed. There's no energy moving. So maybe the sounds needed are more uplifting.
Okay.
That's what they need. The reverse side is a patient who is highly anxious and jittery and always overthinking. Then he or she may benefit from sounds that help them calm down. Not the opposite, anxious na nga, tataas pa. But so really working with the patient and like talking to them, like, what is your experience? Where is the discomfort? How do you spend your days? Even during treatment, after treatment, what do you need? And there is an instrument for that.
So you see, this is again about really looking at the person behind the diagnosis and trying to understand what they need. Emotions are a significant part of the whole healing journey. Could you share insights into the psychological and emotional benefits of sound healing to patients facing end of life challenges? And I know you mentioned quite a few already.
Yeah, well, sound creates a bridge to emotions, but if you think about it, emotionals do have a physical impact on the body. Have you ever felt anger? What does that feel like in your body?
Yeah,
Is it hot or cold?
it's hot, very hot.
Do
You
you
feel it in your ears, you know.
your blood pressure, does it go up or
It
down?
definitely goes up, skyrocketing.
And so does high blood pressure, is that good for someone undergoing treatment?
No, definitely not. It adds to the complication of the whole treatment process.
And thereby, if we could address the emotions and give support for that so that the physical manifestations of those emotions are for the healing
Yeah.
of the patient, not to further along
Agitate, yeah.
agitate. So it's really about doing good than harm.
Yeah.
And not bypassing the emotional part, bypassing the psychological effects. It's just us turning a blind eye to the reality that it's not just physical trauma that patients go through, especially when dealing with something as dear and near as end of life. Like
Yes.
those conversations are triggering, not for even who's not someone who's not sick.
Correct.
Do you notice how people like sidestep around the
Yes.
conversation
Or
around?
just keep mum about it.
Because there is discomfort. And therefore, that can really trigger our nervous systems and also influence our bodies. And then the healing journey can either be slowed down or
Not happen at-
accelerated.
Yeah, yeah.
So really, it's about taking everything into consideration and just supporting the person.
Now, I will bring out the elephant in the room, acknowledge it. Let's address skepticism. How do you handle concerns about the effectiveness of sound healing in the medical context? I'm sure there are medical practitioners who are open, but there are also medical practitioners who are not. So, how do you deal with the skepticism?
I find that skepticism comes from fear, and that fear comes from the lack of education and conversation. So when we do not talk to each other about, hey, what am I bringing to the table? Why are you so against it? Then we will never see where the divide is coming from. And I believe the divide is coming from people who have claimed to cure all these expectations that have no scientific basis, and so therefore people are thinking, I don't want to harm my patient. I mean, I do believe the best with doctors who have spent years with their craft and their studies, and the last thing they want is for these weird modalities to step in and harm the patient. But if we are collaborative,
Yeah.
we have open conversations, we have ongoing educational programs to show, hey, this part is lacking. There's a gap in the ways we have patient care, and we are more disease-centric versus
Patient-centric.
patient-centric. Then, hey, maybe we can fill the gap by just being open and listen to what I do. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to be out of integrity and claim I can cure this and this and this. That's not the point. The point is, how can what I bring to the table help support you, help support the doctor, the patient, the whole community?
Yeah, I think there's something that needs to be underlined. A patient-centric approach versus a disease-centric approach will allow this collaboration to really happen. As Rachel said, collaboration is key. Are there current partnerships between sound healing practitioners and medical professionals to enhance patient care from your experience?
I've seen a lot in the US and Europe. They've already integrated like sound healing in some of their hospices and even in the palliative care centers. Um, And when I was studying sound healing, one of the texts that we were reading, like with the pioneers, actually it was oncologist, an oncologist who was discovering the threads between sound and patient care with for patients with cancer. So it was actually an oncologist who studied it. Um, and there are more studies now, but it's still just at the very surface level, and it's still a wonderful branch in the future to like
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
It's very very young. Even if it's an old modality, but threading it with science and acceptance is still, we still have a long way to go, but it's very optimistic.
It presents a huge opportunity. And if I just may mention, in Japan, it's really part of the activities in the hospice. Whether the patient is experiencing life-threatening illness or at the end of their life, sound healing is integrated into the daily activities of patients. Now, for those who are interested, what resources or support network exists for individuals with cancer exploring sound healing as part of their holistic healing journey? And while we can talk about it, can you share your also your service packages? Like, how many of you are actually doing sound healing in the Philippines? Of course, I'm biased. I know Rachel has really invested a lot on this. But are there really a lot of sound healing practitioners in the country?
We have a lot of good ones as well. Like my gong teacher is here from the Philippines. We have the Tibetan singing bowls. I see a lot of those. So sound healing is an old modality, and people have been using it for meditation, relaxation, and if you look well enough, I think we are growing. Like when I just scroll through my Facebook, the sound healers in the Philippines are growing. As for workshops about health, we do have them, and I think the best place to like contact them would be here, Better Days, like where
Yes.
it's specifically to help with the cancer journey and
Yes.
everything.
Yes, and Rachel is a resident sound healer for Better Days. But Rachel, if they want to get in touch with you, where would be the best place to find you and be able to talk to you about the details of your service packages?
Oh, just my Facebook, Rachel Hamiro, or my Instagram, same name, or Sound Healing Manila.
There you go. So Rachel Hamiro for Facebook and Instagram, and she also responds in her Instagram. So before we wrap up, I'm very, very curious of how, as I introduced you with your title, Attorney Rachel Hamiro, I'm sure a lot of people are curious about how your journey as a lawyer to a global business leader and a sound healer, how did that evolve? Can you give us a glimpse of that evolution?
Well, to make a long story short, it's really like at the heart of it all, I'm a problem solver.
Yes, I agree.
When I started, I was solving legal problems of people. And what I mean, the career changed, but the nature of the work does not. Someone comes to me with their problems, and I do my work learning how to help support them. So it started with legal problems, and then it became business problems. I started working with people who were stuck in their business, with their mindset, with their emotions, with going through the ups and downs, with the whole risk, feeling of risk and failure, and all the nuances when it comes to being entrepreneurs. And and then suddenly I started delving in, like, what is the manifestation of all these problems? It's always anxiety, it's stress, and then constant anxiety and stress always like leads to some sort of physical ailment. So it's like, what's going on here? And then I started studying that to help people, like especially when the solution is not immediate.
Yeah.
Like some business problems or education, and even legal problems takes years for it
Agree.
to be pulled out. And that whole journey consists of ups and downs, and we're dealing with anxiety, stress again. And so, like, what is a tool I can bring in as a complement to what I do to help support the people who are undergoing these major contractions in their life? And sound was the easiest because I didn't need to speak, I didn't explain. You just sit there, you lie there and enjoy.
Rachel is a self-confessed introvert. So I think that's the reason why she went into sound healing. As I mentioned to you before, Rachel is so many things, okay? Quite an interesting individual, personality, a mother, a wife, a daughter, a friend, and on top of her sound healing, she's also a coach and a business coach at that. So, what an incredible journey. Thank you, Rachel, for sharing your wisdom and insights on the transformative power of sound healing. And to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in to the Harmony in Healing. Until the next time, take care and let healing sounds guide you.